In a suburban neighborhood of Dallas, Texas, 29-year-old Rachel had been married to her husband, Tom, for 5 years. Their Tudor-style home with its manicured lawn and white picket fence was the embodiment of the American dream they had built together. Rachel, with her compassionate nature and steady hands, had worked her way up to charge nurse at Dallas Memorial, often taking on night shifts to help support their growing family. Tom worked as a production supervisor at Techstar Manufacturing, bringing home a comfortable salary that had allowed them to purchase their dream home 2 years ago. Their 3-year-old daughter, Lily, was the spitting image of Rachel, with the same wavy auburn hair and bright green eyes that had first caught Tom's attention at a mutual friend's barbecue 6 years ago. Now, with Rachel 7 months pregnant with their second child, a boy they planned to name Ethan, their life seemed picture-perfect to anyone looking in from the outside. Rachel had always prided herself on their marriage. Unlike her parents, whose relationship had dissolved in bitter arguments and mutual resentment when she was just 12, Rachel and Tom communicated openly. Or at least, that's what she had believed until recently. It started with small things. Tom began working later, claiming new production quotas were demanding more of his time. His phone, once casually left on countertops or bedside tables, was now perpetually in his pocket or face down beside him. When Rachel would enter a room, she occasionally caught him quickly switching screens or ending calls. But each time, Tom had a plausible explanation that Rachel, exhausted from her shifts and pregnancy, chose to accept. "Honey, the quarterly reports are due," he'd say with an easy smile. "Johnson's breathing down my neck about the production numbers." Rachel nodded, massaging her swollen ankles after a 12-hour shift. "I understand. Just don't work yourself too hard. We need you healthy for when little Ethan arrives." Tom had kissed her forehead then, a gesture that once brought comfort but now felt somehow hollow. "I promise I'll wrap up this project soon. Then I'll take some time off when the baby comes." As her due date approached, Rachel found herself increasingly alone. Tom attended the obligatory doctor's appointments, nodding at appropriate moments as the obstetrician discussed Rachel's elevated blood pressure, but his mind seemed elsewhere. At home, he was physically present but emotionally distant, often spending evenings in his home office claiming to catch up on work. One particularly exhausting Thursday, Rachel had taken Lily to daycare before working a double shift when 3 nurses called in sick with the flu. Her feet were throbbing, her back ached, and the baby seemed determined to practice somersaults against her ribs as she drove home at 11 p.m. She had texted Tom earlier, asking if he could pick up her heartburn medication, but received no response. When she arrived home, Tom's car was in the driveway, but the house was dark except for the blue glow of his office light. Rachel found him there, immersed in his phone, startling visibly when she opened the door. "You scared me," he said, quickly locking his screen. "I didn't hear you come in." "I texted you about my medication," Rachel said, leaning against the doorframe, too tired to hide her disappointment. "I'm sorry, I've been swamped," Tom replied, gesturing vaguely at his laptop. "I'll pick it up first thing tomorrow." Rachel nodded, too exhausted to argue. "I'm going to take a shower and head to bed." "I'll be up soon," Tom said, though they both knew he wouldn't be. Rachel stood under the hot water, letting it wash away the hospital antiseptic and her growing unease. When she emerged from the bathroom, she heard the shower in the master bath running. Tom's phone lay on the kitchen counter where he must have left it while grabbing a drink. As Rachel moved to place it on the charging pad, a message notification illuminated the screen: "Can't wait to see you again. Last night was amazing." The message was from an unsaved number, but the preview was enough to stop Rachel's heart mid-beat. She stood frozen, water from her hair dripping onto the floor, as the implications crashed over her. With trembling fingers, she picked up the phone. Tom had always used a simple passcode, Lily's birthday, which Rachel entered with practiced ease. The message thread opened, revealing weeks of exchanges. The most recent one stabbed at Rachel's heart. "Meeting ran late. Can you still make 8? Tom had written yesterday. I'll be there. Room 212 at the Westlake Suites. Bringing something special to wear, the reply came. Rachel scrolled up, each message confirming what she now realized she had suspected for weeks. There were intimate photos she couldn't bear to look at, plans made while Rachel worked night shifts, and worse, discussions about their future. "Lisa, we need to be careful. Rachel's been asking questions," Tom had written 3 weeks ago. Lisa. The name struck Rachel like a physical blow. Lisa Chen, the new HR director at Techstar. Rachel had met her at the company Christmas party last December, a petite woman with immaculate makeup and a laugh that somehow filled the room. Tom had introduced them casually, mentioning Lisa had recently transferred from the Austin branch. The bathroom door opened, and Rachel quickly locked the phone, placing it back on the counter. Her mind raced, heart pounding so loudly she was certain Tom would hear it when he entered the kitchen, hair still damp from his shower. "Thought you were going to bed," he said casually, opening the refrigerator. Rachel watched him, this man she had shared a life with for 5 years, now a stranger before her. She placed a protective hand over her swollen belly, feeling a surge of both vulnerability and fierce determination. "Tom," she said, her voice steadier than she felt, "we need to talk." He turned, a flicker of wariness crossing his features before his expression settled into casual concern. "About what, babe?" "It's late, and you look exhausted." "About Lisa," Rachel said simply, watching as the color drained from his face. "What about her?" Tom attempted nonchalance, but his white-knuckled grip on the refrigerator door betrayed him. Rachel placed his phone on the counter between them. "I saw the messages, Tom. All of them." The facade crumbled instantly. Tom's shoulders sagged as he closed the refrigerator door and leaned heavily against it. "Rachel, It's not what you think." "Really?" Rachel's voice cracked with bitter laughter. "Because I think you're having an affair with Lisa Chen from HR while your pregnant wife works double shifts to support our family. I think you've been lying to me for months, making me believe I was crazy for suspecting something was wrong. Tell me, Tom, what part did I misunderstand?" Tom's eyes darted around the room as if seeking an escape route. Finally, he met her gaze. "It was a mistake," he whispered. "It just happened. We were working late on the new hiring policy, and one thing led to another. I never meant for it to continue." "But it did continue," Rachel said. "For how long?" Tom looked at the floor. "Since January. 4 months." While Rachel battled morning sickness and worked extra shifts to cover their new nursery expenses, Tom had been building a parallel life with another woman. The betrayal was so profound it left her breathless. "Do you love her?" Rachel asked, needing to understand the scope of his deception. Tom hesitated, which was answer enough. "I need you to leave," Rachel said, her voice hollow. "Tonight. Stay with your brother, a hotel, I don't care. But I can't look at you right now." "Rachel, please," Tom stepped toward her, but stopped when she flinched away. "Let's talk about this. Think about Lily, about the baby." "I am thinking about them," Rachel said fiercely. "I'm thinking they deserve better than a father who lies and cheats. I'm thinking about the example we're setting. Now please, go." To her surprise, Tom didn't argue further. Perhaps guilt had finally overcome his ability to manipulate the situation. He disappeared into their bedroom, emerging 15 minutes later with a hastily packed duffel bag. He paused at the door. "I never wanted to hurt you," he said softly. "I do love you, Rachel." Rachel said nothing, watching silently as the door closed behind him. Only then did she allow the tears to come, sliding down the kitchen wall to the floor, arms wrapped protectively around her unborn child as sobs racked her body. The next morning, Rachel called in sick for the first time in 2 years. She dropped Lily at her sister Megan's house, grateful for the simple explanation of, "Mom and Dad need some grown-up time to talk," that satisfied her daughter. Then she drove to Dallas Memorial Hospital, not as a nurse but as a patient, concerned about the effect of stress on her pregnancy. Dr. Winters, her obstetrician, checked her blood pressure with a frown. "It's elevated, Rachel. Not dangerously so, but higher than I'd like." "What's going on?" Rachel broke down, the clinical setting somehow making it easier to articulate the shattered pieces of her life. Dr. Winters listened without judgment, then referred Rachel to the hospital's family counseling services. "You need support right now," she said firmly. "Both emotional and practical. I want to see you again in 1 week, sooner if you experience any dizziness, severe headaches, or unusual swelling." Over the next few days, Tom bombarded Rachel with texts and calls, alternating between apologies, justifications, and pleas to reconcile. Rachel responded only to logistics about Lily, arranging for Tom to see her at Megan's house while Rachel processed her next steps. 1 week stretched into 2. Rachel attended counseling sessions, finding unexpected strength in articulating her feelings. She consulted a family law attorney, Jessica Martinez, who outlined her options with compassionate clarity. "Texas is a no-fault divorce state," Jessica explained, "but given the circumstances and your current pregnancy, we have strong grounds for favorable terms. Have you considered what you want regarding the house, custody, and support?" Rachel hadn't gotten that far in her thinking. The betrayal was still too raw, the future too uncertain. "I just want what's best for my children," she said simply. Jessica nodded. "That's exactly what we'll fight for." Meanwhile, Tom had moved into an extended-stay hotel. According to Megan, who supervised his visits with Lily, he seemed genuinely remorseful and was attending individual counseling. He had also, Rachel learned through mutual friends, taken a leave of absence from work, citing family issues. 3 weeks after Discovery Day, as Rachel had come to think of it, Tom requested a meeting. "Just to talk," he texted. "No pressure, no expectations. I owe you that much." They met at a neutral location, a quiet coffee shop where Rachel, now uncomfortably in her 8th month, could sit in a padded booth. Tom arrived early, looking haggard and gaunt, a striking contrast to the confident man who had so casually deceived her for months. "Thank you for seeing me," he began. "I know I don't deserve it." Rachel sipped her decaf tea, waiting. The rage that had sustained her through the initial shock had faded to a dull ache, leaving room for rational thought. "I ended things with Lisa," Tom continued when Rachel didn't speak. "Completely. I also requested a transfer to our San Antonio office, which the company approved. I start next month." He paused. "I know I've destroyed something precious, Rachel. I'm not asking for forgiveness, just a chance to be a father to our children." Rachel studied him, searching for signs of the manipulation she'd missed for months. Instead, she saw only genuine regret. "You broke our family, Tom," she said finally. "You broke my trust in a way I'm not sure can ever be repaired. But our children deserve to know their father, provided you can be the man they need you to be." They talked for 2 hours, setting boundaries and expectations. Tom would continue his counseling. He would support Rachel through the remainder of her pregnancy, attending the birth if she wanted, maintaining a respectful distance if she didn't. They would co-parent with clear communication and mutual respect, regardless of their marital status. It wasn't forgiveness, Rachel wasn't sure she would ever reach that point, but it was a path forward through the wreckage of their relationship. 2 weeks later, Rachel went into labor 3 weeks early. Despite their agreement, when the contractions began at 2 a.m., she found herself calling Tom rather than Megan. He arrived at the hospital within 20 minutes, ashen-faced with worry but steady in his support as Rachel was wheeled into the maternity ward. The labor was difficult. Rachel's blood pressure spiked dangerously, and at one point, the monitor showed fetal distress. Through it all, Tom remained by her side, his presence both painful and oddly comforting. When Ethan James finally arrived, squalling and perfect despite his early appearance, the moment transcended their broken relationship. For that brief window of time, they were simply parents welcoming their son into the world. Reality returned as Rachel recovered in her hospital room. Tom brought Lily to meet her brother, the little girl's excitement a bittersweet reminder of the family unit they would never be again. As Lily chattered happily, climbing carefully onto Rachel's bed to peer at the swaddled infant, Tom stood slightly apart, his expression unreadable. When Megan arrived to take Lily home, Tom lingered. "We need to make some decisions," he said quietly. "I've put in for family leave to help during these first few weeks, but I understand if you'd prefer Megan's help instead." Rachel considered her options. Having Tom present would be emotionally complicated but practically beneficial. Megan had her own family to consider, and Rachel knew the early weeks with a newborn and a toddler would be overwhelming. "We can try it," she said cautiously. "But I'm not ready to discuss reconciliation, Tom. This is about practical support during a difficult time, nothing more." Tom nodded, visibly relieved. "I understand. I'll take the guest room and focus on Lily while you recover and handle Ethan. No pressure, no expectations, just support." The arrangement was awkward initially but settled into a functional routine. Tom took Lily to preschool, prepared meals, and handled household chores while Rachel focused on recovering and caring for Ethan. They operated like roommates sharing childcare responsibilities, carefully polite but emotionally distant. 2 months passed. Tom's transfer to San Antonio was postponed at his request, and he found an apartment 10 minutes from their family home. The family law attorney had drawn up separation papers, which included generous support terms that Tom accepted without negotiation. Rachel gradually returned to part-time work, finding solace in the familiar hospital routine. Life developed a new normal, one marked by scheduled handoffs of the children and cooperative but separate parenting. It wasn't the family life Rachel had envisioned, but it was stable, respectful, and child-centered. Then came the day Rachel returned early from a shift to find Tom in their family home, where he still had legal access to collect personal items. He wasn't alone. Lisa Chen sat at the kitchen table, bouncing Ethan on her knee while Tom prepared a bottle. Rachel stood frozen in the doorway, waves of betrayal crashing over her anew. The casual domesticity of the scene, the ease with which this woman handled her child, struck Rachel as the ultimate violation. Lisa looked up first, her expression shifting from surprise to guilt as she quickly stood, passing Ethan to Tom. "I should go," she murmured, grabbing her purse. "You absolutely should," Rachel agreed, her voice dangerously calm as she stepped aside to let Lisa pass. When the door closed, Rachel turned to Tom, who had the grace to look ashamed. "Rachel, it's not what it looks like," he began. "Lisa stopped by to drop off some paperwork from HR about my transfer. She was only here for 5 minutes before you arrived. And that justified letting her hold our son?" Rachel asked, taking Ethan from Tom's arms. "The woman you cheated with while I was pregnant? The woman who knowingly participated in destroying our family?" Tom ran a hand through his hair. It was a momentary lapse in judgment. "She asked to hold him, and I didn't think." "That's exactly the problem, Tom." "You didn't think," Rachel interrupted. "You didn't think about how seeing this would affect me. You didn't think about appropriate boundaries. You just acted on impulse, exactly as you did when you started this affair." Tom's expression hardened slightly. "I've been working hard to regain your trust, Rachel. I've respected your boundaries, supported you and the kids, attended every counseling session. One mistake doesn't erase that progress." Rachel bounced Ethan gently as he began to fuss, her mind racing. She had begun to believe in Tom's redemption arc, his commitment to rebuilding some form of family connection, if not their marriage. Now, she questioned everything. "I think we need to revisit our arrangements," she said finally. "Including your access to this house when I'm not present." Tom's face fell. "Rachel, please." It was a momentary error in judgment, not a resumption of the affair. "Lisa and I are colleagues, nothing more." "That's how it started last time," Rachel pointed out. "I'm not saying you can't see the children, but we need clearer boundaries. I won't have our kids caught in the middle of whatever is or isn't happening between you two." Tom left shortly after, visibly frustrated but not argumentative. Rachel sat in the quiet house, Ethan now sleeping peacefully against her shoulder, and made a decision. She had focused so much on survival these past months, on simply getting through each day, that she had neglected to consider what she truly wanted for her future. The following week, Rachel filed for divorce. The decision brought neither satisfaction nor relief, just a quiet acknowledgement that some bridges, once burned, cannot be rebuilt. Tom received the papers without protest, signing them within days. Their divorce was finalized 3 months later, marked by civil exchanges and practical co-parenting discussions rather than acrimony. 6 months after that, Rachel accepted a promotion to nursing supervisor, which came with daytime hours and increased pay. She refinanced the family home in her name alone, creating a stable environment for Lily and Ethan. Tom, now permanently stationed in San Antonio, maintained regular visitation, driving the 3-hour round trip each weekend to see his children. On a crisp fall evening, as Rachel sat on her porch watching Lily chase fireflies in the yard while Ethan napped inside, her phone chimed with a text from an unknown number. The message contained a photo of Tom and Lisa at what appeared to be an engagement dinner, with a simple message, "Thought you should hear it from me rather than through the grapevine. Tom proposed last night. I said yes." Rachel stared at the photo, waiting for the sting of betrayal to resurface. Instead, she felt a surprising emptiness, then a gradual sense of closure. She deleted the message without responding, then called to Lily that it was time for her bath. Later that night, after both children were asleep, Rachel sat at her kitchen table with a glass of wine, reflecting on the journey from that devastating discovery to her current life. The pain hadn't disappeared entirely, she suspected it never would, but it had transformed into something less consuming, less defining. She had learned to trust her instincts, to value her own worth, and to model resilience for her children. The future stretched before her, not the one she had planned, but one entirely her own. In the quiet of her home, surrounded by evidence of the family she had preserved through the storm, Rachel raised her glass in a silent toast to second chances and unexpected strength.